Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov has declared that NATO is de facto at war with Russia through its direct and indirect support for Ukraine.
It can be said with absolute certainty that NATO is fighting against Russia.
This statement followed the violation of the airspace of NATO members Poland and Romania by Russian drones and the development of response measures within the North Atlantic Alliance. The alliance condemned Russia's reckless behavior and announced the launch of a new initiative called Eastern Sentry, aimed at strengthening the security of the alliance's eastern borders.
The alliance is not at war with Russia, but is determined to defend every inch of NATO territory.
Unprepared for a bilateral summit, Russia and Ukraine continue large-scale attacks on strategically important targets. Ukraine has carried out special operations against Russian railway infrastructure, and on Sunday night, Ukrainian drones struck Russia's largest oil refinery in the Leningrad region, where a major fire broke out. The Russians, in turn, launched massive strikes on military transport infrastructure, drone storage and launch sites, and temporary deployment points for military personnel in 149 districts. In the initial phase of the war, Russia quickly captured about 27% of Ukraine's territory. However, as a result of Ukrainian counteroffensives, as of September 2025, Russia controls around 18 to 19% of the country's territory, including almost the entire Lugansk region, a significant part of Donetsk, the southern parts of Zaporizhia, and the left bank areas of the Kherson region. Incidentally, these four regions were declared an inseparable part of Russia during an official ceremony in Moscow on September 30, 2022. However, in recent months, during Trump's mediation efforts, the Russian side has indicated it is ready to negotiate over the territories of Kherson and Zaporizhia. Recently, Russian forces have registered advances in the Pokrovsk district, while the Ukrainian army has had tactical successes in the north of the Sumy region. Official and independent data on the losses of the conflicting parties differ significantly. Western intelligence sources estimate Russia's military losses at 350,000 to 400,000 and Ukraine's at 250,000 to 300,000. According to UN data, the number of civilian casualties exceeds 70,000. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine presents much higher figures, claiming that Russian losses have exceeded 1 million. The Russian Ministry of Defense, in turn, regularly reports the killing of thousands of Ukrainian servicemen and also puts the enemy's losses at 1 million. Both warring countries have suffered enormous, record-breaking losses of military equipment amounting to tens of thousands of units, including tanks, armored vehicles, artillery systems, and aviation equipment. Western military and financial support continues to be the main pillar of Ukraine's resistance. The U.S. alone has allocated more than $180 billion, while the EU and other NATO allies have provided another approximately $120 billion. This aid includes Patriot and HIMARS systems, Abrams and Leopard tanks, and F-16 fighter jets. Ukraine's war expenses amount to $172 million per day. According to data from the Rada's Budget Committee, Ukraine's defense spending already exceeds 31% of its GDP. If the war with Russia continues into its fourth year, Ukraine will require at least $120 billion for defense in 2026. U.S. President Donald Trump, who previously promised to end the war in one day, recently admitted that the conflict is much more complicated to resolve than expected.
The hatred between Zelensky and Putin is boundless. They hate each other so much they can't breathe. We will resolve this issue one way or another, so I will have to get involved.
Western allies are now discussing providing post-war security guarantees for Ukraine, as well as the deployment of European peacekeepers in the event of a ceasefire. This war, which has lasted for more than 3.5 years and is the bloodiest in Europe since World War II, continues with no end in sight. It has led to hundreds of thousands of deaths, millions of refugees, with 10 million people having left Ukraine alone, according to various estimates, and widespread destruction, irreversibly deepening the confrontation between Russia and the West, according to experts.